All right, and shalom, 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 everybody. This is Elder James, and I'm with the King James Bible University, coming out of Durham, North Carolina. And before we get started, we do want to make it known, as we always do, that we here at the King James Bible University and the House of the Lost Sheep of Israel, we are not affiliated with any Christian organization or any Christian group, any Black Hebrew street camp organization, or any camp group. We here at the King James Bible University and the House of the Lost Sheep of Israel, we stand alone, and we only hold to the sovereign King James Bible with the Apocrypha. We don't share any notes. We don't associate ourselves, nor do we affiliate ourselves with any other organization that you might see outside of King James Bible University and the House of the Lost Sheep of Israel and the House of JEHOVAH. So we do want to make that known, as we always do here. But tonight's teaching that we're going to be getting into, which we still continuing with this series, which is the war within. So this is actually the part 4, which is entitled, Blessed is the Man that endureth temptation. So with this one, we're going to be looking at something in particular, which it's a common quote out there that a lot of people, we always hear, that we might have said it ourselves, or you have a lot of people who you might have heard that actually say it, and then they'll always tell you, well, God won't give you more than you can handle, or God not gonna put more on you than you can bear. I'm pretty sure that majority of us here has heard that, or we've even said it ourselves, and we might even know where that's actually coming from. I'm sure that we heard that. But this is the thing that so that's actually going to be our main thing on what we actually focusing on, because we need to understand that with clear understanding, because you have to ask the question, what does it truly mean when it is said that God will not allow us to be tempted above what we're able to bear? What does that truly mean? Because it's one thing we just saying something, but we have to make sure we understand it. So is it every burden that we face, is it something that's been placed upon us? Or is it when our own choices, our own desires and actions lead us into carrying burdens that we've placed upon ourselves that shouldn't even have been there? We got to think about that. That only weighs us down, that even leads us into situations that we were already given the opportunity to escape from in the first place. So we got to think about this. So even when temptation actually comes, what is going to reveal to us is where our heart truly stands and where we truly stand with God. And when JEHOVAH provides a way to escape, do we actually recognize it? See, that's the key. Or will we choose to remain in the same very place where our own lusts have actually taken us away? See, these are the things that we want to think about as we actually go into this teaching. So we're going to not waste too much time, but we're going to go ahead and get started. So what we're going to do, we're going to start over here, and we're going to go right over there to the verse, which I want to pull that for us. So we're going to start right here in 1 Corinthians chapter 10, which you'll see right here. 1 Corinthians chapter 10, which you're going to see. We see it here. So this is the verse that we're looking at, which says, there have no temptation taken you, but such as is common to man. But God is faithful, who will not suffer you to be tempted above that ye are able, but will with the temptation also make a way to escape, that ye may be able to bear it. So this is what we see. So this is what we need to focus on. So this right here is exactly where that understanding comes from, where you hear that same common quote, God won't give you more than you can handle. So if anybody didn't know, this is exactly where that verse is coming from. That's where they pulling that quote from. But it's being said a different type of way. But not only people, we hear it here, but we hear this in the world. Most of the time, people gonna say this based on their struggles and things we going through in life, bad situations and stuff happening that we feel is unbearable. But then when we in that, a lot of us, the first thing we gonna say is, well, God won't put more on you than you can handle. That's what we gonna say. But this is where this comes from, that we see right here in 1 Corinthians chapter 10, verse 13. But a lot of us tend to quote that, but not with understanding. But what we have to do, we have to look at this with clear understanding to see what's going on, because we even see there have no temptation, which I want to show us. We even see there have no temptation taking you, but just such as common to man. But I want to show us here, even in the spiritual dictionary, which you're going to see right here. You're even going to look at temptation, which I'm going to show us over here. I want to show us that, because you're going to see temptation right here. And you're going to see the first thing that's going to pop up is integrity. Then you're going to see faith, and you're going to see provocation. See, most people, we might ask, well, temptation, why the very first functions of temptation in the spiritual dictionary, why do it begin with integrity and faith? Which integrity, I want to show us that. So you can actually see that as well. You can see integrity is going to function as righteousness, uprightness, honesty, virtue, wholesome, faithfulness. You see all those things there. And then you can even see with faith, which we'll look at this. We'll go down to faith. And you're going to see that faith is belief, confidence, you see trial, but then you see expectation. So these are the things that you see. So when we get back over here, the temptation, we can even see that you got integrity, you got faith. But so what we have to understand is this: temptation, what it's going to do is going to actually challenge our faith in God. That's what it does, because that's why it ties to it. But the temptation itself does not come from God, because God is not going to tempt you with evil. He's not going to do that. However, when those temptations and those trials come, we are given a choice to choose what side we actually are going to hold to. So based on our faith, so the desired expectation is the outcome of that very proving on how he proven us in that, which is for us to actually reject the worldly pleasures and deceitful doctrines of the world and prove to God that we're going to remain faithful and upright with him. That's what we're supposed to be doing. So it's proving our integrity. It's proving our faithfulness with God. That's what the temptation is doing. So that's the outcome that we should be actually looking for, because he is going to prove us on whether we are willing to follow him 100% or not. So the thing is with this, when he telling us over here that there have no temptation taking you, but such is common to man. The reason we seeing this is because it's showing us that these things that we experience, the things that we go through, that we actually encounter, these is common to man. So any temptation in this world is something that we all gonna have to experience, these things that's gonna come our way one way or another. So there's no person that's actually exempt from that. So everyone has to go through it. So meaning is nobody here. If you calling yourself a servant of God, if you calling yourself serving God, there's no servant of the Lord that is exempt from facing temptation in this world. It don't matter who you are. Why? Because you even gonna see right here, because we're gonna go over here to Sirach or Ecclesiasticus chapter 2. And you see it. Sirach or Ecclesiasticus chapter 2. And he tell you right here. He said, my son, if thou come to serve the Lord, you're going to see that. Prepare thy soul for temptation. So you're going to see that there. So it's telling us, if we're going to serve the Lord, we're going to come to serve the Lord, then we got to be ready for this. We got to make sure that we are well equipped with the knowledge and understanding on what we need. This is how we're going to prepare our soul for the things that we face. But the question is, are we actually doing this? Are we making sure that we well equipped? So we need a spirit to guide us. But the issue is, even when he makes a way for us to escape so that we can bear it, a lot of us tend to still to go against that. And we tend to forget where we actually at. Because I even want to show us this, to remind us on where we actually at. So he tell us when we go over here to Psalms. Let's look over here. We're going to go to Psalms chapter 95. And we're going to look at verse 8. So let's see what he's saying. It says, harden. It says, harden not your heart, as in the provocation, and as in the day of temptation in the wilderness. Matter of fact, let me do it this way. Matter of fact, what I'll do, I'm gonna actually I'll do this. Yeah, so I added a second Bible, and I'm actually gonna pull this one over here. I'm gonna pull Psalms 95 and 8 right there. So I do it like that. So you see it down here in the bottom corner. It says, harden not your hearts as in the provocation, and as in the day of temptation in the wilderness. So you see that there. But then I want to show us, because when he tell you to harden not your hearts, because if you harden it, it says make stubborn. That's the harden. Just stiffen it. Why? Because we can't be stiff-necked. This is what he tells us. But as in the day of temptation in the wilderness, this is what I'm talking about. Because when you see the wilderness, I want to show us. It's telling you that the wilderness is without. It's forsaken. It's a desert. So this is what we're talking about. So that's why I was saying we got to understand and remember where we at. This is what we're looking at. We in this wilderness. So we got to consider that. And what's a wilderness? You see, it's without. It's forsaken. It's a desert. So this wilderness, we in this land of sin. So we really need to understand where we actually at and what's actually around us. But this also serves as our proving ground, because in that same place is where JEHOVAH is gonna prove us on whether we're gonna follow him or no. So he leaves us with a choice, but we got to deal with and face all this temptation around us that we see on every side. But this is why he say, harden not your hearts. So don't harden your heart. Don't sit there and be stiff-necked. Don't sit there and be rebellious. Don't sit there and be disobedient, because it's going right back to that desire that's within the heart. Because our own fleshly desire is what makes us stubborn-minded and stiff-necked. So we're going to rebel against God because we rather chase after vanity. This is what happens. So again, God is faithful. He ain't changing. God is faithful. He don't change. It said, who will not suffer you to be tempted above ye are able. He ain't going to suffer you to be tempted above that you are able. So he ain't going to give you more than you can bear. But the question is that talking about your flesh? But is he talking about your spirit? See, These are the things that we have to understand, because now he already tell us something when we go over here. We go over here to Matthew. He tell us this in Matthew chapter 26. In Matthew chapter 26, and we can see this in verse 40. Matthew chapter 26 and verse 40. Let me correct that. Yeah, Matthew chapter 26 and verse 40. It says, watch and pray that you enter not into temptation. Watch what he say. It says, the spirit indeed in works is willing, but the flesh is weak. Exactly the point. So this is exactly the point of what I was saying. The flesh is weak. The flesh is susceptible to sin. Always. It's always going to be like that. Why? Because we sitting here in sinful flesh. So the flesh is going to fall for lust every single time. Why? Because you're going to see right here. You're going to see right here when we go over here to Romans. Romans chapter 8 and verse 7. He tell us right here. It says, because the carnal mind is enmity against God, for it is not subject to the law of God, neither indeed, so in works, can be. It can't be subject to God. The carnal mind isn't subject to Jehovah. The fleshly mind isn't subject to God. Flesh ain't under obedience to Jehovah's law. So when we sitting there and we saying God ain't gonna give you more than you can bear, he ain't talking about your flesh. That's the point I want us to understand, because he ain't dealing with your flesh. He talking about the spirit. That's why he say the spirit indeed is willing, but the flesh is weak. He ain't even talking about our flesh. That's what I'm talking about. So the spirit is going to endure, because if you sitting there, you're going to make sure that you following God no matter what. But the flesh is weak. The flesh is feeble. It's frail. So if we sitting there and we choose to stay there in a bad situation, when Jehovah giving us a way out and we choose to stay, then the question is, then what in the world made you stay? That's the point. You tell me. You tell me. Because it's going right back to the same thing. God is faithful, who will not suffer you to be tempted above that ye are able. So he provides us with a way to remove ourselves from a situation so it doesn't take you over. But that's according to the spirit, not according to your flesh. See, your flesh going to get caught up anyways because it's not subject to God. That's the point. So when we constantly doing things, chasing after flesh, then you get caught up in something that you should have known what was right. Then guess what? We got to pay for it. We can't sit there and do things that's contrary to Jehovah, but we got the knowledge of it and know exactly what we should have been doing, but we sit there and choose to do something contrary anyways, and now we got to pay for it. We can't sit there and say, oh, well, God, he ain't going to give me more I can handle. I don't know. What are you going to say that for? That's your own burden that you put on yourself. This is what I'm talking about, why we have the issues that we having. You can even see this in action right here. So let's look at this. Let's look at this over here and let me see. Yeah, let's go over here. Let's go over here to Genesis. Let's go over here to Genesis chapter 3. Because we can see this. Let's go over here to Genesis chapter 3. And we're going to start right here at verse 1. Genesis chapter 3 and verse 1. It says, now the serpent was more subtle than any beast of the field, which the Lord God had made. And he said unto the woman, so our spirit, and the woman said unto the serpent, so our spirit, we may learn of the fruit of the trees of the garden. But of the fruit of the tree which is in the midst of the garden, God hath said, ye shall not eat of it. So ye shall not learn of it, neither shall ye touch it, lest ye die. And the serpent said unto the woman, ye shall not surely die. For God do know in the day you learn thereof, then your eyes, your understanding shall be open, and ye shall be as comparing gods, knowing good and evil. Now watch this. It said, and when the woman saw that the tree was good for food, that it was pleasant to the eyes, to our understanding, the tree to be desired to make one wise, she took of the fruit and did eat and did learn, and gave unto her husband with her, and he did learn. So you can see that she took of that knowledge so that they could be as gods, because that's what that desire was to be, because that's what they desired and they learned of it. So that was the downfall. But again, they did this to themselves. So the question is, again, was this more than they could bear? Was this more than they could bear? Or did they already have a way to escape and they sat there and didn't choose it? Because we got to look at something else. Because the same thing, when you go over here to Genesis chapter 2, you go to Genesis chapter 2, we're going to hit verse 16. We're going to hit verse 16 and verse 17. It said, and the Lord God commanded the man. So this is something he already done told us beforehand. The Lord God commanded the man, saying, of every tree of the garden thou mayest freely eat. So you can freely learn. But of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, thou shalt not eat of it. So you don't learn of it. For in the day thou learnest thereof, thou shalt surely die. So this was already given to us beforehand. So this was already commanded beforehand. You can sit here, you can learn of every teacher here in this garden, but the one that's giving you the knowledge of good and evil, the one that's going to sit there and give you a mixed doctrine, they're going to sit there and tell you something that sounds good to you, that sounds true, and then they're going to sit there and go and mix it with a lie. And through that right there, yeah, that one that's doing that right there, that's the one he telling you, stay away from them. Stay away from it. So they clearly already had the knowledge on this. You clearly see this right here. They clearly already had the knowledge on this and what to do and what not to do. So this is what he mean. This is what he mean when he say right here, back in 1 Corinthians 10:13, but will with the temptation also make a way to escape, that ye may be able to bear it. Why? Because he already gave you the knowledge on it. Do we understand what's going on? So this don't even make sense, because you clearly see right here, they already have the knowledge on it. He telling you he gonna make a way to escape, because that's the knowledge that he gave you, so you understand it, that you may be able to bear it. It ain't so that's what he mean when he say that. He already gave them the knowledge on it. So when the temptation arrived, when you already have the understanding on what to do to avoid falling for those enticements, for those deceitful doctrines, for those worldly deceitful doctrines. He already gave you the understanding. That's the point, because they already knew. So since they clearly already knew, then what in the world kept them sitting there? Because you even see, they said it out their own mouth. You see this. Back over here in Genesis 3 and verse 2. And the woman said unto the serpent, we may learn of the fruit of the trees of the garden. We saying this out our own mouth. But of the fruit of the tree which is in the midst of the garden, God have said, ye should not learn of it, neither shall you touch it, lest ye die. Well, shoot, you see, we know this. We know what's going on. Matter of fact, because all that's showing you is let me see. Let me go over here. I'm gonna come back here, but then all that's showing you. Let's go over here. Let's go over to Hebrews. Hebrews chapter 10. It ain't gonna change. What? For if we sin willfully, after that we have received the knowledge of the truth, there remaineth no more sacrifice for sins. That's the point. So it's no excuses here. We can't sit here and have the knowledge of something and we know what the truth is and we still go out here and do something differently. And then when things go bad and stuff don't work out for us and now we got all these issues going on, first thing we gonna say, well, God, he ain't gonna give me more I can bear. God ain't gonna give me more I can handle. What are you talking about? You did that. That ain't got nothing to do with God, because you knew what you was doing when you did it. So what are we saying? Because we already had the knowledge on it. We was already told what to do beforehand. So that's what he's saying when he's saying he ain't going to give you more than you can bear, because he already made a way for you to escape, because he let you know already what you should have did. He gave us understanding on what we supposed to stay away from. So guess what? We won't never deceived. We won't deceived. We won't deceived on anything. Why? Because you see it right here in 1 Timothy. First Timothy chapter 2 and verse 14, it says, and Adam, yeah, was not deceived. I don't want to say, we won't deceive. But the woman being deceived was in transgression. Why? Adam won't deceive. We was already given instruction. But our spirit, because we chose to follow flesh, was led astray. So if we still go after that lust, now we got to face the consequences of our own actions. Now, when things get worse, then how we going to sit there and say, well, God ain't going to give you more than you can handle? How you going to sit there and say that when he already gave you a way out, but we choose not to take it because it was something else that we wanted? But then we going to sit there and put it back on God. That's what I'm saying. Hopefully we seeing how jacked up this is when we sit here and we just do that. Because same thing, first thing that happened is we're going to sit here and put it back on God. That's why you see they did this here. In Genesis chapter 3 and verse 12, and the man said, the woman, so is the spirit whom thou gavest to be with me. She gave me of the tree and I did eat and I did learn. We trying to put it back on God. We trying to put it back on the spirit that he gave us to actually guide us, but we going to put it back on him. Really? They going to put it back on the woman, the spirit that God gave them, when that wasn't true. He gave them the spirit to guide them, but they didn't accept it because they wanted to follow flesh. But now you going to sit here and put it back on God? Oh, that was the spirit you gave me. That was what you gave me. Really? It's no different. This is no different from you sitting there and you know that being a thief is wrong. Everybody know that being a thief is wrong. Why? Because you already have the knowledge on that. You know that. And I know it's wrong. But now if I sit here and I go inside of a store and I'm sitting there and I'm looking at something that I really want, I'm sitting there looking at that store, it could be anything. Like I done seen this new watch. It's this new watch that I want. I like this. It's this fancy Rolex type watch. And I'm sitting there like, dang, I really want that watch. But I know I can't afford that watch. But I really like it. I really like it and I really want it. So I know I ain't got the money to afford it, but if I had that watch, man, I'd be out here shooting. I'd be balling if I had that watch. So what I do, I decide I'm going to find a way so I can steal that watch and I can take it, thinking that I'm going to get away with it. But then when I do that and I end up getting caught and I end up getting arrested and I end up getting put in jail for that, guess what? Now I'm in a bad situation that I now want to get out of, that I caused. Now, how in the world I'm going to turn around and tell myself, well, God ain't going to put more on you than you can bear. He ain't going to put more on me than I can bear. How am I going to say that? How does that even make sense? How can we sit there and say something like that and that going to make sense? I knew what was right, even though that temptation was there when I seen the watch. I knew that taking this watch was going to put me in a bad situation. I knew it was going to get me in a lot of trouble because I knew that being a thief was wrong. I knew that being a thief was sinning. I knew what I was doing. So he already done made a way to escape for me already. Why? Because I knew it. I knew that what I was doing was wrong already. He already done made a way to escape. So if I still choose to take it and give in to that fleshly temptation because the flesh is weak. So when I get in trouble and I get in a bad situation, guess what? I got to deal with it now. I can no longer say that he ain't going to give me more than I can handle or bear because I'm the one who put myself in that very position. Do we get the point? Do we see how this is working? People say, well, I wouldn't do that. Okay, well, shoot, I give you another one that might even bring it even closer for us. Like I said before, you have so many people out here in this world who we sit there, we desire to escape all these struggles in this life. But that desire can actually keep our mind fixed upon the struggles rather than leaning upon JEHOVAH. This is what happens. This is exactly why I said there's so many issues that many of us face because we become so focused on our struggles in life that our desire becomes more directed towards escaping the struggle that we can't even get ourselves out of. But it's for us to see that. But a lot of us, we don't see it because like I said, most of us, we so used to finding our way out of a bad situation or a bad circumstance that we cause. We used to fixing things ourselves that we can't fix, but we going to call it fix. Because we so used to relying on ourselves, trying to be Mr. and Miss Independent, that we get caught up in something that nobody can't get us out of. That's the point. Matter of fact, what I'm saying, you gonna see, he tell us right here. He tell us right here. Because in Deuteronomy 28 and verse 68, he tell you in Deuteronomy 28 verse 68, and the Lord, the Spirit of God, shall bring thee into Egypt again, so into the house of bondage again with ships, by the way whereof I spake unto thee. Thou shalt not see it no more again. There ye shall be sold unto your enemies for bondmen and bondwomen, and no man shall buy you. That's what I say. Ain't nobody gonna get you out of this. This is what I was talking about. So to go into Egypt again is to go into the house of bondage again. But remember, what takes us back into bondage? Because we're not talking about physical bondage. We're talking about bondage of the mind. See, we come out of bondage. So our issue is we sit there, he brings us out of bondage, but we come out of bondage with burdens. And we want to hold on to those same burdens of this world that we supposed to be leaving behind. And we want to bring that stuff out. We don't want to leave those burdens behind. We still choose to carry them. And that's the issue, because those same very things are what bring us right back into that bondage. It's going to bring us right back into that darkness. Guess what? That darkness, it can be felt. That's why you even see this, which he tell you in Exodus chapter 10. He tell you in Exodus chapter 10 and verse 21, you see what's going on in Egypt, in the house of bondage. It said, and Lord said unto Moses, stretch forth thy hand, thy power towards heaven, that there may be darkness over the land of Egypt, this house of bondage, even darkness which may be felt. I don't know why I keep doing that, because I need to put it, because what I want to do is I want to actually put it right here. That's what I should have did. Yeah, I want to put it right there. So I put it right there. So, but I want us to see darkness. You see all this here that's tied to darkness? You see darkness is tied to black, despair, ignorance. You see all this. Spiritual ignorance, sinfulness, spiritual blindness, no understanding. This is darkness. This is darkness. Why? We ain't got no understanding. This sinfulness, this ignorance, this blindness, this despair. You see all this here. Why? Because that darkness is in the flesh. So if we in darkness, it's going to bring spiritual ignorance. It's going to bring this blindness of the mind with no understanding. It's going to bring despair. That's why you can feel it, because it's in your flesh. It can be felt. You can feel it in your flesh. So guess what? When you feeling in despair, when you sitting there, people feeling hopeless, people feeling discouraged, doubtful, sorrowful, you can feel that. You feel that pain. You feel that anguish. Y'all know what I'm talking about. Y'all know exactly what I'm talking about. Because we sitting there, we allowing our own desire to pull us right back into that bondage. Because once he brought us out of it, you see what happens. You see what happens when he brings us out of it, because we gonna see how crazy this actually get, which if it won't hear in scripture, I couldn't make sense out of it. But you see exactly what we do. You see this, and it said in Numbers 14:4, and they said one to another, this is us. They said one to another, let us make us a captain. Are we serious? Let us make us a captain. We gonna make us a leader, a chief. And let us return into Egypt. Let us go back to bondage. We're going right back to where we came from. Are we serious? Is this what we talking about? I really want us to really think about that. We gonna make us a leader, someone who can lead us back into bondage. When you know it ain't nothing over there but darkness. Ain't nothing over there but confusion and no understanding. It ain't nothing there. And we gonna sit here and say, you know what? Shoot. Hey, we finna go back. We gonna go back. This is why you have people that will sit here and learn what the truth is, stick around for a while, and then after a while, just disappear and go right back into darkness like you weren't even there. Because you know what? We sit here and say, people, well, you know what? Shoot. Hey, what they talking about? Hey, that's too harsh for me. That's too harsh. Hey, this is too much to take. I need to go back to that guy I was listening to before that was telling me, because you know what? This is too much for me to take. I need to go back. This is too much for me. This too much for me to bear. This too much for me to take. So guess what? We rather go back to the same places. You gonna go back to the same places that was causing you confusion. Can we really understand that? I really want us to understand, because this I can't even make sense out of this. I mean, if you couldn't see this in scripture, that these types of things that we actually do, then I wouldn't even believe it, because you can't even make sense out of this. But the fact that it's right here, right in front of our face, you can't even argue with it. Because what in the world will make us turn around and go right back to the same stuff that was making our life bitter? What would make you do that? What's making us do that? What gonna make us go right back to the same stuff that was causing us pain and suffering in the first place? What's wrong with us? What would make you turn around and go back to that? You can't even make sense out of that. It ain't no other way to see it, because it's right there. It's right here in front of our face. This is what we do. We literally do this. Matter of fact, to make it worse, you get. I'm gonna do this like this. Matter of fact, to make it worse, you're gonna see this. Look over here to Numbers chapter 11. Numbers chapter 11, we're going to start at verse 4. It says, "And the mixed multitude that's among them fell a lusting." Guess what? It's always a mixed multitude. That's why you say, all Israel, not Israel. You always going to have this mixed multitude. "And the children of Israel also wept again and said, Who shall give us flesh to eat? Who going to give us some flesh to learn? I'm starving. Who going to give me some flesh I can learn of?" You see, we remember the fish, which we did eat. We did learn in Egypt, in this house of bondage, freely. Man, we remember all that stuff, man. The cucumbers, the melons, the leeks, and the onions, and the garlic. You see all these things. All this stuff that we remember. Guess what? All of this is familiar. That's the point. All of these are familiar things. That's why we go backwards. See, we always tend to go back to something that's actually familiar to us. That's what our issue. It's a familiar taste. It's a familiar appetite that we used to. You can't say we don't do it. You can't say we don't do it. Look at them. You see cucumbers. What cucumber tell you? Delicacies of Egypt. Temporal pleasures. We don't go back to it. Temporal pleasures that we find pleasure in, that satisfy our flesh. These things that we get that temporary satisfaction in, and it don't even last. Melons. What did he tell you? You see them there? Melons, works of the land. You see them. Fruits of bondage. Sensual pleasures. Wantoness. This is stuff we talking about. We just got to get our little fix, knowing it ain't gonna last, but we still gonna do it anyways. This is what we talking about. These leeks, you see them. Look, it's all here. Contentment. You see herbs of the world, earthly substance. But look right here. Memory of past comforts. Material versus spiritual desires. Challenge of faith and trust. You know we got that. But we got these past comforts. We like to entertain these past comforts. You can't say we don't sit here and do that. Sitting there talking about, oh, shoot, man. We sitting there reminiscing on, shoot, man. Shoot, 5 years ago, shoot, I was better off 5 years ago. Shoot, I was living comfortable. I ain't have to worry about nothing. I could just do whatever I wanted to. I could just eat what I want, do what I want. I could used to just live my life and just do whatever. Hey, it's what it is. We sit there and we reminisce on stuff like that. We think, dang, man, shoot, I could go back to what I was doing before. I just used to live life. And then so somehow we forget about all the sufferings and the pain that those past lifestyles actually brought us. Because our flesh started lusting. Somehow we forget about that. But then what? What you got? Onions? You got what? Only layers of iniquity. Just layers upon layers upon layers upon layers. What? But they inward desires. So you know it's coming from the heart. It always started in the heart. That's what. But what? You struggling with faith, struggling, trusting in God. You know we got this. You know we got this problem. A lot of us, we struggle with this. We always struggling with this trust. We one way 1 minute, then the next minute we another way. We rolling with God, then next thing you know, we in a corner somewhere we don't know what to do. This is what I'm talking about. Cause we sitting there, we keep thinking about these past lives and these familiar things that we want to go back to. And then what you got to guard it? That's why I said it's bitter. It's bitter. It's sorrowful. Well, you see, wormwood, sharp. It stink. Ill savored. It's bitter. But it's gonna bring corruption. It ain't something that's good. It brings sorrow, so it goes right back to our struggles. A lot of us, like I said, we struggle with faith. So when we get weak-minded, it's easier for us to just give in. So we rather go back to that. So all of these things comes back to the mind, because these are all, everything that you see here, these are all familiar lifestyles, because you can easily physically walk away from something in the past. That you can easily do that. But that don't mean that the mind gonna leave it. See, that's the difference. See, they physically came out of Egypt. They came out of bondage, but guess what? Their mind was still there. You see it right here. You're looking right at it. We remember. If you remember, it's in your mind. You're thinking about it. Just because you physically stop doing something, if that desire is still there, then in your mind, you're going to convince yourself to go right back to it. No different from people who drink, people who smoke, people who on drugs. See, we'll get off those things for a bit, then turn right around and go back to it. Why? Those cravings are just going to keep coming back. They just going to keep coming back. We sitting there caught up in flesh. All that got to happen, literally all that got to happen is just one bad situation. All this stress pile up. That familiar desire come back. Sit there and say, oh, shoot, I need to go smoke me a blunt. I'm stressed out. I need to go smoke a blunt. Let me get a bottle of something. That's what we do. Thinking you going to smoke and drink pain away. How you going to do that? Then the next morning, reality sits back in. And then you're going through the same pain. Cycle never ends. This is what I'm talking about. But this is what we do. So we rather go backwards to where our flesh is comfortable at, to that familiar appetite, that familiar desire and craving, because that's what the temptation does. That's why I say, no temptation have taken you, but it's common to man. It's common. You already know what it is. It's familiar. It's not something you already don't know, but we get drawn away by things that our flesh already desires. And we go back to those same lusts. But, guess what? Did he not already make a way to escape? Did he not do that? Did he not already make a way to escape? Because you see right here in verse 6, it said, but now our soul is dried away. There is nothing at all besides this manna before our eyes, before our understandings. That was it right there. He put that before us. That's why you see manna. What he tell you? Bread from heaven. Knowledge from heaven. It's right there. So he put this before us, this knowledge from heaven, that we sit here and we get this every single day. That's why you see over here in Exodus chapter 16 and verse 4, it says, then said the Lord unto Moses, behold, I will rain bread from heaven for you, and the people shall go out and gather a certain rate every day, that I may prove them whether they will walk in my law or no. So this is what I meant, what I was saying earlier. That temptation That temptation not coming from God, but God gonna prove us on whether we gonna follow him or no. So we gonna be in the world, we gonna face temptation around us, but Jehovah, he always gonna give us a way out. That's why God is faithful. He ain't gonna suffer you to be tempted above that you are able, but he maketh a way to escape. Why? He making sure that we getting this knowledge every day. So how in the world we act like we don't got a way to escape? He making sure that we provided with this knowledge every single day. Each and every single day, we got all these teachings going out. We've been given this knowledge of this truth. You can't say that God ain't faithful. No one can say that. He gave you a way out. He's giving you a way to escape. We get this bread every day. We got teachings going out all day, every day. So how can we say we don't have that? So if we still choosing to chase flesh no matter what, and that's where our desire is more directed towards, and you find yourself constantly in bad positions, then don't sit there and say, well, God ain't going to give me more than I can handle. Why? Because they gave you a way out. He already done gave you teachers. He already done gave you an opportunity to get understanding. You can sit here and ask the questions. You can sit here and get all the understanding you need, but you choosing to go and sit out here and entertain other things. So don't say that. That's your own dang fault. Because we like to sit here and hold on to things that we shouldn't be hold on to when we know what's right, but we still choose to do what's wrong. So stop sitting here and using that excuse. He tell you in Romans chapter 7. Romans chapter 7, starting at verse 19, it says, for the good that I would, I do not. Yeah, but the evil which I would not, that I do. That's exactly what we be doing. Now, if I do that I would not, it is no more I that do it, but sin that dwelleth in me. That's what our problem is. He said, I find in a law that when I would do good, evil is present with me. That's a point. It's right there. Why? Because it's on us. We can't escape it, but we choosing not to. So again, because our desire is directed towards the things that we want to seek after in the world rather than seeking after Jehovah, and then you not being given more than you can bear. If you sit there, you not being given, we going to bring ourselves right back into bondage. We bring ourselves right back into captivity of this flesh, and you feel it happening because you letting it happen. You know it. Now we're going to start suffering, and then we want to say, well, God ain't going to put more on me than I can bear. No, don't sit there and put it back on God. You put it on yourself because you did it to yourself. This is what our problem is. This is what our issues are. That's why he tell us. Now he tell us right here, same place, Romans chapter 7. I just want to pull this over here. Let me see. In Romans chapter 7, in verse 23, it says, but I see another law in my memories, warring against the law in my mind and bringing me into captivity to the law of sin, which is in my memories. So again, you see, the conversation ain't changing. See, again, when our minds become so fixed on carnal things of this life, that's because the desire of the heart is already towards that anyway. So our mind is going to reason that all this other stuff in this world, that's what matters to us the most. So it makes us lose our focus. Now, guess what? Now we going right back into captivity. Now we're sitting there focusing on flesh. So the spiritual matters, sitting there seems lesser because we're not holding to it. Because I'm more focused on, I'm more focused on, I need to get out this struggle than I'm in now. So even though we sit there and know our desire should be towards Jehovah, so that's why he said, for I delight in the law of God after the inward man, but I see another law warring my memories. So guess what? Now, every time we lose that focus and we go off and we start focusing on fleshly things and get distracted, guess what? It's going to bring me into captivity to the law of sin, which is in my memory. It's going to bring us right back into bondage to this flesh, right back into that darkness, just like that. And guess what? You can feel it. So guess what? All that sorrow, that pain, that anguish, that despair, that suffering, that heaviness, all that's there. Now we got all this going on because we keep going back to Egypt. We keep going back into bondage in our dang mind. So we won't let those things go. That's why he say, ain't no man gonna buy you. It don't matter what you do. Ain't no man gonna get you out of this. No man gonna save you. But that's the point. Nobody gonna get us out of it. You ain't gonna get out of it until you come to the realization that you can't depend on nothing or nobody but Jehovah. That's only when you gonna be able to get out of it. The only one that can get us out of it is Jehovah. But he has to break this pride in us because we so full of pride. We so stuck up and stiff-necked on ourselves. This is why we had the issue. We have to come to the point that we need to realize that we can't depend on nothing but Jehovah. We got to stop trying to be, I'm trying to be, I'm going to fix this and I'm going to do. Stop it. But a lot of us won't realize that. Instead, we're going to sit there and continue to self-reason and continue to sit here and just throw our own pity parties all day, every day. So a lot of us, we'll begin to self-reasoning by telling ourselves that we're going to fix it. We're going to fix it. So, you keep on fixing, Bob the Builder. And guess what? You're going to keep digging yourself deeper and deeper into a deeper hole because that's what your mind fixed on. Our own problems that you think, oh, well, shoot, I'm going to fix this. I'm going to do it. Okay. You're going to see right here why you're going to keep having an issue. Because you're going to see this in Wisdom of Solomon chapter 9. Wisdom of Solomon chapter 9, verse 15. For the corruptible body presseth down the soul, and the earthly tabernacle weigheth down the mind that museth upon many things. So he already telling us these mortal thoughts, they're going to weigh us down. The mind, you're sitting there, you're sitting there, you're pondering, you're thinking, you're sitting there thinking about all these mortal things in this world that literally is vanity. So is this, he already letting us know. So we can't say we ain't got knowledge of it as if we don't know these are the things that we be doing. We can't say this is what we don't know that we do. Why? Because you're looking at it. You're reading it. Same as he tell you right here in 2nd Esdras. 2nd Esdras chapter 14. 2nd Esdras chapter 14. And then you're going to see in verse 14 where this is from. You see that? But that it said, let go from thee mortal thoughts and cast away the burdens of man, put off now the weak nature. So these are the things that we already know. So when we're sitting there, we holding on to that. So it keeps the mind fixed upon the circumstances instead of upon God. So when he already told us, we supposed to obey his voice. We supposed to be learning to him. No, we going to worry about everything else. We going to say, no, I'm going to worry about this. I'm going to fix this myself. Okay. And guess what? When you go do that and when it don't work out for you, guess what? Don't come crying back to me later. That's what he going to tell you. Because he going to give you over to whatever you want to be into. That's what we don't realize. See, for sitting there, so what you mean? Okay. He tell you right here. Because you sit there and we think this is a game as if he going to sit here and play a game with us when he not playing a game with us. Because he telling you right here. It says in Proverbs chapter 1, in verse 23, it says, turn you at my reproof. Behold, remember, I will pour out my spirit upon you, and I will make known my words unto you. But you're going to see the problem right here. Verse 24, because I have called, and ye refuse. I have stretched out my hand, and no man regarded. But ye have set at naught all my counsel, and would none of my reproof. We didn't want to take no counsel. We don't want to take no correction. You know how many of us actually sit here and we get counseling, we get advice on things, we get guidance on things, and we still sit there and refuse it and still do things how we want to do it because we don't formulate it in our own mind that there's a better way that we see to do something. Because we so determined to prove whatever point we think we're going to prove after we don't receive some sound counsel on something. You know how many of us actually sit here and do that? So guess what? So once you get advice on something and you go against that advice to try to do something your own way and it don't work out for you and you start, and guess what? And you get your feelings hurt, you start going through hell, then don't sit there and say, well, God ain't going to give you more than you can handle. Don't lie to yourself like that because he already done made it known. He already done made a way for you to escape when he sent you somebody to give you counsel. When he put somebody before you to give you guidance. And guess what? We the ones who sit there and choose to refuse it. We the ones who do this. It ain't no different. The same as he even did. You even see with Amaziah. I know y'all remember him. I know y'all remember him. The same as you see right here. In Second Chronicles chapter 25. 2 Chronicles chapter 25 and verse 15. You see right here. It says, wherefore the anger of the Spirit of God was kindled against Amaziah, and he sent unto him a prophet, a mouthpiece. That's the one that's going to give you counsel. Watch this. Which said unto him, why hast thou sought after the gods of the people, which could not deliver their own people out of thy hand? So he asked him, why are you doing this? But we sit here and do the same thing. Why? Because we want to sit here and live like a God. Same thing you seen happen in the garden in Genesis. You sitting there, you don't have to be told, you don't have to hold yourself to Jehovah's standards and his laws. That's why we want to sit there and act like we gods. So we can govern and direct ourselves. He can be his own law now. He can set his own standards now. He his own God. He can do whatever he want to do. This is why a lot of us will reject counsel that's given, because we want to hold on to our own standards and belief that we done set for ourselves instead of submitting ourselves to Jehovah. So we'll reject the counsel of the one that he actually sent us to hearken unto. Same as you see right here. Verse 16, and it came to pass, as he talked with him, the king said unto him, art thou made of the king's counsel? Forbear. Why shouldest thou be smitten? He's talking to him like, dude, who you think you are coming to me, talking to me like this? Who you think you is? You ain't finna tell me this, dude. Who you think you is? Watch this. Then the prophet forbear and said, I know that God determined to destroy thee. Oh, I know this now, because thou hast done this and hast not hearkened unto my counsel. So he let him know. Like I said, a lot of us is no different. For a lot of us, it's no different. We don't want to hear nothing. We just want to do whatever we want to do, and we going to hold it that. See, it would be no different. It's no different. Let's say I'm sitting here, and I'm going to use me as an example. Let's say I'm sitting here, and you see, I'm riding around. I got a 2016 Honda Accord. So I'm riding around in a Honda Accord. It ain't got no issues. It paid off. And guess what? It get us from point A to point B. That's it. But then I sit here and go down to a dealership, and I'm sitting there looking at that. I'm looking at this new 2026 Ford Mustang that I wanted, that I'm looking at, and I'm sitting here because I'm like, dang, well, shoot, I can get that. I'm trying to live it up. I'm trying to drive something fast. I'm trying to go crazy on the road. Guess what? I got a good car. What I want to go after that for? But then because of that lust, because of that desire I got, I'm gonna sit here now. I want to get some type of advice. Now I'm gonna call up one of the elders. Let me call up one of the elders and see what they say. I'm sitting here saying, man, I'm trying to get this new Mustang, man. Like, I'm trying to get this new Mustang down here. And hey, tell me what you think. Tell me what you think, man. I got this new 2026 Mustang, bro. I'm trying to go down here and get what you think. They probably gonna say, hey, man, hey, elder, hey, I wouldn't even do that. It'd be better to just save up. You already got you a decent car. Why are you gonna get something that's gonna put you in the bind? See, that's something they'll say. See, now that's like something Elder Martin. He'll probably tell me that. I can hear that. See, but the point was, that was the advice. That was the counsel right there, the escape. That's what I'm talking about. That was the escape right there. That was it. But because of my own lust, I'm sitting there saying, man, nah, man, I gotta have it. I gotta have that one. Nah, I gotta have that. That's the one. That's the one right there. I want that one right there. I'm gonna get it. So guess what? I don't listen to them. I don't take the counsel. So I go after it anyways, knowing I can't really afford it. But if I end up getting it, then guess what? Did he already not make a way to escape? Did he not already make a way to escape? He already done made a way to escape. But guess what? I didn't take it. So guess what? I end up getting it. Now guess what? Hey, I get that car. Insurance go up. Now guess what? Now the insurance too high for me to pay it. I can't even pay it because y'all know once you get one of those sports cars, it's gonna make the insurance skyrocket anyway. Guess what? Insurance too high. I can't pay it. Car note too high. Can't pay it. I can't keep up with the maintenance costs. Now when things start getting bad, I got all this debt I can't pay. Now I'm gonna come back to the elder and say, I'm coming out, hey, elder. Hey, elder. Man, I'm in a bad spot right now. I I can't afford this car. I can't afford this car. I'm going through it. Shoot. I'm going through it. Okay. But you already knew that already. I could imagine if I tell Elder Johnson something like that. He's like, well, shoot, hell, why you telling me that for? You already knew it. Because it don't make sense. You chose that. So now I got to suffer and deal with it because of my own choices. Because I'm sitting there, I was trying to live above my means. I was trying to live like something that I'm not. And guess what? That's not wise. So now that's a burden that I put on myself that I now, guess what? I got to carry that. You see how this is working? But then I'm going through all this. I'm going through all these issues, but then I'm going to sit there and say, well, God ain't going to give me more than I can bear. How? He already done made a way for you to escape. He made a way for you when he gave you that counsel and that advice. You got the counsel, you got the advice, so what you talking about? He already done made a way. But we the one who sit there and place these dang burdens upon ourselves. We choose not to take that counsel. So now when the consequences come, who's the one who's putting the burden there? Who's doing it? Now, do you see what I'm saying? So anytime we get counsel on something, it don't matter what it is, we choose not to take that counsel, even in spiritual matters. We sitting there, you want to blow it off and do things our own way, and he tell you, you don't want to hearken unto his counsel? Back over here, Proverbs 1:26, what he say? You ain't going to hearken to my counsel? And with none of my reproof, guess what? I would also laugh at your calamity. Yeah, I'm going to laugh at your calamity. I will mock when your fear coming. You got all this hell going on, guess what? I'm going to laugh at that. I'm going to mock when your fear coming. When you sit here, you don't know what to do. When your fear coming as desolation and your destruction cometh as a whirlwind, when distress and anguish cometh upon you, yeah, what he going to do? He said, I'm going to laugh at it. Then shall they call upon me. Guess what? now we want to call. Now we call, hey, Elder, I got this going on. Elder, I'm trying to figure out what's going, man, I'm trying to figure this out. I can't figure. Okay. I don't know what you're calling for. I already told you, dude. I already told you what to do, dude. I already done told you. Like Deacon Barrett said, I done took and told you. So guess what? They should seek me early. You can do that all day, every day. Guess what? They should not find me. They should not find me. Why? He gonna give you the reason right here. For they hated knowledge. Exactly the point. And did not choose the fear, the desire of the Spirit of God. But then, guess what? As soon as we going through all types of hell, then the first thing we gonna convince ourselves of is what? He ain't gonna put us through more than we can bear. Okay, he didn't put that on you. That's the point. Get off of that lie. Stop telling the lie. You put that on yourself. But this is what we do. This is the type of stuff we like to sit there and get into. So, again, a lot of it, we become so consumed with trying to get ourselves out of a struggle that we begin digging an even deeper hole for ourselves within. What happens? Guess what? A lot of us, same thing when we like to sit there and, like I said, we like to sit there, we want to live above our means. Now, all these financial burdens start to pile up due to our own neglect with our own finances and these bad habits that we develop. So guess what? We accumulate debt. We build up credit card debt. We got all these multiple different cards, and guess what? You never paid off the first one. Now you got all this debt accumulated. Now what? Digging a deeper and deeper hole for ourselves. We don't know what to do. We become in debt to these financial institutions that we can't repay. Now guess what? Then you can't pay them back. You can't pay them back. Guess what? You done took some money. They don't loan you some money, and you can't pay them back. Best believe they're gonna be sending you them letters in the mail. You're going to be getting them letters. Now they're going to be threatening to take you to court because they want their money back that you loaned them. They going to make sure they get it back. Guess what? You can't pay it. Adding even more burden. Damn, now you're looking for government support. Now we're looking for government assistance, looking for the government to help us. Start taking out of our savings. Start taking out of our retirement money. Then guess what? You take that out At the end of the year, you're going to end up paying for that too, because they're going to want that back too on your taxes. Again, digging a deeper hole. Now you looking for anything in the world that can offer more help and temporary relief. Simply because our mind becomes so consumed with escaping our present circumstances rather than actually learning from them. Because I guarantee you, majority of us who have or have struggled with things like this, I'm pretty sure you done had somebody who done gave you sound advice on getting out of that situation. I'm pretty sure you done had somebody who done gave you some type of sound advice on that. But did you take it though? That's the point. Did you take it though? Or did you toss it behind your back because you seen a better way? So, like I said, we add these burdens to ourselves. But again, all of it is carnal. These are carnal burdens that occupy our thoughts, consume our meditation daily, day after day. In the midst of all that, he gives us understanding, but it's something that we always forget about. The same thing that he always tells us, the very thing that we always pass by. He tell us something. He tell us something over here in Matthew chapter 6. Matthew chapter 6 and verse 33. This is always here before us. It says, but, he got all that going on, but seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things shall be added unto you. This is what he's telling us. So this is the first thing he tells us to do. People sit there and say, yeah, I done read that, but okay, but do we understand it? Do we apply it? So again, we become so consumed with this world that we forget what's supposed to come first. Nothing seems to be working out for us, yet we continue placing our dependency on everything else except God. But he said, seek ye the kingdom first. Do that first. That's what comes first. And all these things should be added unto you. That's the difference. See, it's as simple what he's saying, but we make it harder than what it got to be. So it don't say go do whatever you want to do first, and then you come back and seek the kingdom. It don't say that, do it? You don't see that there, do you? See, that's what we do. But we keep thinking, oh, we going to put things we want to do first. We going to think, well, shoot, if I just keep working hard enough, then my situation will change. If I just keep working hard enough, really. Yet, many times our situation never changes because we neglect the very thing that God told us to actually prioritize. You're sitting there working your butt off, but you still ain't got nothing. You're struggling to get by every single week. Why? Because we think that's going to make things change. But we sitting there doing everything else and don't want to do what we're supposed to be doing. We don't want to study. We don't want to meditate. We don't want to put God first on nothing. We don't want to ask the questions that add to our studies and gain understanding. But we sitting there, we desire the world first. And guess what? It's not going to work. All we doing is putting more weight on us in this life. And we're going to convince ourselves that just working harder is enough. When JEHOVAH telling us, no, you seek me first. Seek the kingdom first. But we don't get that. So, now don't get me wrong. He tell you a man that don't work should not eat. But that same principle applies both physically and spiritually. But that's the point. We become so consumed with the physical side of life that we neglect the spiritual side of things as if they don't matter. Or we can just go, well, I just come back to them later when I get to it. When we don't realize the further we go into this world, the deeper we're going to dig ourselves into that hole that we can't get out of. When he even tell you, matter of fact, because he the one that even tell us. He the one that even tell us over here in Deuteronomy 8. He the one that tell us in Deuteronomy 8 and 18. It says, but thou shalt remember the Spirit of God thy God, for it is he that giveth thee power to get wealth, that he may establish his covenant, which he sware unto thy fathers, as it is this day. He the one who do this. He the one who give you the power to do this. We don't do this. He does. But you can see the same truth. It operates both on both sides. If we're going to get anything, JEHOVAH the one who gives us the strength to do it. It don't come from us. Yet our desire, well, we have to remember where that comes from. It don't come from us. It comes from God. But we can't forget that. Yet our desire should not be centered upon the things of this life just because we want something to change. It's not about that. But our desire should be directed towards what we know we're supposed to be doing, which is why we are to seek first the kingdom of God and his righteousness. So that's why it's not what we think we're going to do, because he the one who's going to provide this to make sure we straight. Because we're going to sit here and say, well, he ain't going to give you more than you can bear, but make a way for you to escape. Why? Because your desire is towards the spirit. You're going to see the same thing even happening here. I want to show you over here in Second Chronicles chapter 1. Look how this is working. Second Chronicles chapter 1 and verse 11. You're going to see this. It said, and God said unto Solomon, his beloved, Jehovah's beloved. It says, because this was in thine heart. You see how we never got off the heart. And thou hast not asked riches, wealth, or honor, nor the life of thy enemies. Neither yet hast thou asked long life, but hast asked wisdom and knowledge for thyself, that thou mayest judge my people, teach my people, over whom I have made thee king. Watch this. Wisdom and knowledge is granted unto thee, and I will give thee riches and wealth and honor, such as none of the kings that have had that have been before thee, neither shall there any after thee have the like. So Solomon did not ask for riches or wealth. You see what he say? Thou hast not asked for riches or wealth or honor. He didn't ask for none of those things. That he just gave them as a plus. But he wasn't after that. Because you see what it said. This was in thy heart. Thou hast asked, but has asked for wisdom and knowledge for thyself. That's what he asked for. He won't chasing after riches and wealth, what you see here, but rather after Jehovah's wisdom. That's where his desire was directed. Because he tell you, seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness. Yet Jehovah still gave him these riches and these wealth and riches. He still gave it to him. He didn't ask for those things. Think about it. He didn't ask for riches or wealth. You don't see he was out here wearing himself out, busting his tail, wearing himself down, trying to attain wealth. You don't see that. Jehovah gave it to him. He gave it to him. He didn't ask for it. I want us to really consider that. So he provided Solomon with everything that he needed, even on the physical side. So at that point, he didn't need to worry about all that stuff. Because now he could focus on the spiritual side of things and do what? Teach God's people. Because that's what he asked for anyways. That thou mayest judge my people, teach my people, over whom I have made thee king. So that was the whole point. So even with us, we tell you to seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things should be added unto you. So the same thing even with us. See, Jehovah, he can make things work out for us in this life and change things for us, but it's not for us to just think we just going to prosper in this world. It's not for that. Nor for us to just think we going to get something back in return, but it's for us to actually get closer to God. That's the focus. And understand more, if he takes care of things for us on this side, then we don't have to worry about those things. Now we can focus more on the spiritual side of taking care of God's business. That's the point. But we so focused on, so worried about our struggles here in this physical side that we can't even see the dang forest for the trees. Because we so focused on the small things, we can't even see the bigger picture of what's going on. Because we sit here doing everything backwards. So that's why we have this internal struggle going on. That's the war, again, within that takes place in our own mind. We continue to go through the same cycles over and over and over again. So no matter what happens, a lot of us, we continue to put God on the back burner so we can focus on everything else we see in this present life. Even though he clearly tells us, seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness. Because God is the only one who can make us prosper, not us. Same as he did. We got to go over here. We got to look at Joseph. Same as he did. You see this in Genesis chapter 39. Genesis chapter 39, you see in verse 20. It said, and Joseph's master took him and put him in prison, a place where the king's prisoners was bound. And he was there in prison. Watch this. But the Lord was with Joseph and showed him mercy and gave him favor in the sight of the keeper of the prison. That was the point. So you see, his desire was, God, the Lord was with him. The Lord was with Joseph. The Lord made him to prosper. Shoot, he was cast into prison, but what about it? He wasn't in there suffering. He wasn't in there tormented. So you see, just as he did him, the same as he can do for us. This is where he can begin changing things for us. But understand this. Our desire has to go after God, not for something to change. But the issue is, because we not to just seek after God simply because we hope for our circumstances to improve. We not that's the wrong reason. That's not seeking with a pure heart. That's just looking for something in return. I want us to understand that. But all we need to do is just prove to God that we gonna be faithful unto him, and we ain't gonna sit here and bend on anything. That's why he said, I'm gonna prove you. And that can go on for years. You don't know how long he can prove us. But we don't look to just do things just looking for something in return. We don't seek him for that reason. That's wrong. That's the wrong thing to do. That's still using carnal reason. Because our desire is still towards just getting out of something. Because if we do that, then it's showing your heart is still controlling your mind. Because we just looking for a reward. We just looking for something in return. Because now that's only serving God in hopes and receiving something in return. And that's not the right motive. That's wrong. That's still being a covetous person. Still tying you back to Esau. He just wanted something that he wanted. He just wanted a blessing. But he had no genuine repentance. He had no true desire to change. That's the problem. Because I guarantee you, with even a lot of us, once he give us what we wanted, we'll sit right there and turn right back and go back to our own ways that we was into before. And we'll turn our back right back on them again once we get what we want. See, because we don't sit here and do things with a pure heart. So when we should seek God, because that's why our desire truly is, not just because we want something in return. But if our desire is only towards having a better life in this world, then what would be the profit? What profit would it be for God to change our circumstance if after he brings us out of it, our heart remains the same? It ain't been no change. It's vain. It's worthless. It's a waste of time because our heart is still set on the world. Hopefully we understand it. But even the same thing, even with Joseph, I want to show us something even with Joseph, because when we see Jehovah showed Joseph mercy in prison. See, everything he did, Jehovah made him to prosper, not of himself. He didn't make himself prosper. Jehovah did. See, even before that, we can even see his mindset was never different. It never changed. It always stayed the same. Even when his master's wife, when Joseph, his master's wife, tried to lay with him. When she tried to lay with him. You see it here. In Genesis 39:7, and it said, and it came to pass after these things that his master's wife cast her eyes upon Joseph, and she said, lie with me. But he refused and said unto his master's wife, behold, my master would have not what is with me in the house, and he have committed all that he have to my hand, to my power. Verse 9, there is none greater in this house than I, neither have he kept back anything from me but thee, because thou art his wife. How then can I do this great wickedness and sin against God? So you see, Joseph wasn't willing to give in to this temptation that you see right here. This woman, Potiphar's wife, tried to lay with him. You see what she said? She cast her eyes upon him and said, lie with me. She tried to rape this man. She straight up tried to rape this man. You see how she coming at him? She coming at him just lay with me. Lie with me. You see how she's saying that? You see how she coming. But you see Joseph, he didn't give in. He didn't give in to that. You see what he said? He checked her on it. You see this in verse 9. Soon as she said that, he refused and said to his master, he said to his master wife, wait a minute. My master would have not was with me in the house. Okay, he committed all this to me in my hand. But watch this. They ain't none greater than this house than I. Shoot, not even you. Ain't nobody greater than this house than me. You see, he immediately checked her on this. The only thing, he said, neither have he kept back anything from me but thee. That's the only thing that he kept back from me is you. So how can I do this great wickedness and sin against God? He didn't say he was going to be sinning against Potiphar. He didn't say he was going to be sinning against her. No, he would have been sinning against God. That's the point. So it's showing you Joseph was not bending on this. That's the point. But you see from that point, you see in verse 10, immediately how it switched up. You see immediately how it switched up in verse 10. Watch this. And it came to pass. After he did it, after he checked on it, you see how it came in verse 10. It said, and it came to pass as she spake to Joseph day by day. Oh, now she's speaking to him. First, she like, oh, no. She said, lie with me. No, you going to come like that first. Now in verse 10, she spake to Joseph day by day, that he hearkened not unto her to lie about her or be with her. So you see, this time she spake to Joseph. The first time she said, lie with me. So she coming all aggressive, coming all forceful. First time she tried to rape this dude. She comes straight up to the dude talking about lie with me. Then after he checked her on it, then the second time in verse 10, she spake to him day by day. So you see the difference, because the first one was with force. That's the point. That's the whole entire point. But the next time, you see, it was without that. But what she did was the same silhouette picture of what you see over here, even with Moses. What you see over here in Exodus chapter 17. This is what you see. The same thing you see here. In Exodus chapter 16 and verse 6, it says, behold, remember, I will stand before thee there upon the rock in Horeb, and thou shalt smite the rock, and there shall come water out of it, that the people may drink. So you see this. So you see, the first time, God told Moses to smite the rock. So he smote the rock, meaning he did it by force. That's what he did. So the same as when Joseph, his master wife, when she came to him, she came with force and said, lie with me. She did that. But once she seen that she had to come correct, she didn't come forcefully no more. Instead, she just spoke to him. That's why you see on the second time, it said, and it came to pass as she spake to Joseph day by day. After he done checked on it, that's how she came the next time. It's the same as when the Spirit of God told Moses the second time, don't smite the rock. He told him to speak to the rock. So he told him, so you see that same silhouette picture here. Because you see right here in Numbers chapter 20 and verse 8, it said, take the rod and gather thou the assembly together, thou and Aaron thy brother, and speak ye unto the rock before thy eyes. The same as you see here. And it came to pass, she spake unto Joseph day by day. First time, she came with force. No, you gonna lie with me. Second time, nope. She spake to him. Same as you see here. The first time, the Spirit of God told Moses, smite the rock. You see on the second time, he told him to speak to the rock. So you see in the same thing. So you see that this time the Spirit of God told him just to speak to it. But the first time he smote it, because he did it by force, because it was showing them how they came out of bondage, just as he smote the Egyptians and brought them out by a mighty hand. So he smote the rock. But once they came out and learned and got understanding, he was supposed to do it differently. That's why on this time in Numbers chapter 20, verse 8, he told them, speak ye to the rock before their understandings. So he was just supposed to speak to it by letting them know that they were out of bondage. But that was the issue, because instead he still did it by force and smote it. And that's why you see in verse 9, it said, and Moses took the rod from before the Spirit of God as he commanded him. And Moses and Aaron gathered the congregation together before the rock. And he said unto them, hear now, ye rebels, must we fetch you water? Must we fetch you knowledge out of this rock? Watch what he did. And Moses lifted up his hand, and with his rod he smote the rock twice. Not once, but twice. And the water came out abundantly, and the congregation drank, and the beasts also. But you're going to see the issue. And the Spirit of God spake unto Moses and Aaron, because ye believe me not to sanctify me in the eyes of the children of Israel, therefore he shall not bring this congregation into the land which I given them. So you see, he fell for that right there. So he was given instruction, but he chose to go against it. So that was the consequence. But you see, he didn't sanctify the Spirit of God amongst the people, but he still treated them like they were still in bondage, because he called them rebels. You see what he's saying? You rebels, you see what he's saying, right? Look at this. You see this? He said, you rebels. You see, disobedient, waywardness, pride. Y'all just disobedient. Y'all just full of pride. This is what he's talking about. This is what he's talking about when he called them rebels. So that's the issue. Instead of separating JEHOVAH amongst the people, just speaking to it. he smote it again. And that was wrong. But the point is, you can see Joseph's master wife, she did this in the same way. First, she came by force in verse 7. Then he checked her in verse 9 and let her know what was up. Verse 10, next time she spake to him. That was different. She came by force. She basically demanded him to lie with her, but after he checked her on it, she came differently and just spoke to him day by day. So you can even see that there. But you're gonna see something back over here when we get over here. You're gonna see right here in Genesis chapter 39 and verse 11. It said, and it came to pass about this time that Joseph went into the house to do his business. And there was none of the men of the house there within. But watch how crazy this get. And it said, and she caught him by his garment, saying, lie with me. And he left his garment in her hand and fled and got him out. So, again, you see all this in action. The same thing. We get back over here. This is why you can see this here. You see this working in action. There have no temptation taking you, but such as common to man. But God is faithful, who will not suffer you to be tempted above ye are able, but will with the temptation also make a way to escape, that ye may be able to bear it. So you see, this is exactly what happened here. So if you being led of the Spirit, you're gonna be removed from that bad situation. That's why he said he ain't gonna suffer you to be tempted above that you're able. He maketh a way to escape. That's why he was able to flee and get himself out of there. So he removes you from it. He didn't put more on Joseph than what he could actually bear. So he had to flee from that sin, from that evil spirit. But I'm gonna tell you, how many people, especially men, would have sat there and actually did that, or would have given in to that pressure. You got guys, a lot of us men gonna sit there and say, well, shoot, I would have did the same thing. That's what we'll say. But then you got a lot of us that don't even know how to act if a woman sit right there and smile at you. Same men that see a woman walking down the street and then you trying to turn around and see what she looked like from behind. But then you're going to say that you would have did this. And we can't even go without doing that. A lot of us would have fell for it. Here in verse 7. And it came to pass when his master wife cast her eyes upon Joseph. Yeah, she looking at you like she wants you. And she said, lie with me. A lot of us would have fell right there. We would have been done right here. But we think we would have did this. What makes it worse, after the first time and that didn't work, she spake to this man day by day. You see in verse 10, and it came to pass as she spake to Joseph day by day, he hearkened not unto her that lie by her or to be with her. She did this every day. Day by day, he had to deal with this same thing. Every day. Then after that, once she got him alone and we want no men in the house, she caught him by his garment and she got him again. Lie with me. But guess what? This is where it get worse. She caught him by his garment, but he left his garment in her hand and fled and got him out. Now, I want you to understand something. She caught this man by his garment and he left his garment in her hand and fled and got him out. This garment, matter of fact, I did this picture and I want to show us. That's what you're looking at. You're looking at this garment or this tunic. See, this is the type of style of garment you see men that would wear back in that time. So men won't sitting there wearing t-shirts and pants and jeans and all that. No, these are garments that they would wear. So you're telling me she caught him by his garments and he fled out of there and she still had a garment in her hand. I want you to think about how crazy that is. I really want you to look at it, because this is a one-piece garment. She caught him by his garment, and she still got the garment in her hand. I want you to really think about that. How crazy that is. This man left his whole garment behind. That should let you know how bad this was. So it ain't no telling what she looked like. It ain't no telling what she was doing. But for her to have taken his whole garment, that should let you know that this was something serious that was going on. She won't nothing to play with for this man to have to flee like that. And she had his entire garment. I'm showing us this because I really want us to see that. It's only like that's a whole garment. So literally, that whole garment had to come off, and she had his garment. She had his entire garment with her. That's what I'm saying. So, like I said, a lot of us say the same thing. We will say the same thing, like, oh yeah, we would have did that. Okay. You don't know what this woman was doing, what she had going on. And she got this man whole garment with her. And he had to flee out of there. It let you know. He had to get up out of there. That's why he said, okay, God ain't going to suffer you to be tempted above as you able. Because clearly, he had to get up out of there. So that's the whole point. Just letting you know that this was serious. Because that's letting you know that this was bad. So, but you even see, even in all of that, Joseph didn't change. He didn't waver on any. Joseph still didn't give in to that lust. I want you to really think about that. This man did not bend on that, showing you how much he was actually for God. That shows you how much he was actually for God. Because even look what happened afterwards. Look at this. Now, you get right here to verse 16. She still got the garment. She still got it. It said, and she laid up his garment by her until his Lord came home. And she spake unto him according to these words, saying, this is what she said to Potiphar, her husband. This is what she said to him. She spake unto him according to these words, saying, the Hebrew servant. So that dang Hebrew servant, which thou hast brought in unto us, came in unto me and to mock me. That's what she's saying. And it came to pass, as I lifted up my voice and cried, okay, so she lying, that he left his garment with me. No, you snatched the dang garment off of him and fled out. So you see all this lying going on. And it came to pass, when his master heard the words of his wife, which she spake unto him, saying, after this manner did thy servant to me. So after she done told him all that, watch this, that his wrath was kindled. So you see how she told this lie on Joseph. But you can see that his garment, it don't say, you see, all it says that he left his garment with me, which we know she sat there and caught him by his garment. But you see, it don't say that the garment was stripped. It don't say that the garment was ripped or anything. So, but after she told her husband what Joseph had did, I can ask any man in here right now. I can ask any man in here right now who's married. I'm gonna ask you first. I'm gonna put this here because you gotta think, because let's put Genesis 39 right here, and you gotta think about something, because this man Potiphar, you gotta see this in Genesis 39:1. It says, and Joseph was brought down to Egypt, and Potiphar, and the Lord, so he's Egyptian, and the Lord, well, shoot, I can't even, let me see. I might gotta pull it, let me see. I can't even get it up here on this side. Let me see what I can do. I might gotta pull this one. Yeah. Because I actually gotta show us that part. Let me see. Genesis 39. Here we go. Yeah, because I want us to see that right here. and 1. And Joseph was brought down unto Egypt, and Potiphar, an officer of Pharaoh, captain of the guard, an Egyptian. So that's what I wanted us to see. I wanted us to see his position. That's why I wanted us to see that so much. So you got to understand. This man, Potiphar, he's a captain of the guard. He's an officer of Pharaoh. It let you know that he holding some weight down there in Egypt. This man's holding weight. He's a captain of the guard. Joseph, just a servant of the house. So this is why I want to ask that question. So you telling me, any man right now who's married, a man right now, if you was in this position and your wife told you that a servant of your house came on to her and tried to do this stuff to her, and he left his clothes with her and tried to do this with your wife, you telling me you wouldn't have this man killed? Any man right now, you telling me if you was in this position and your wife done told you that this dang servant done did what she said that he did to her, and you gonna sit and you gonna sit there and you telling me you wouldn't have this man killed for that? Any man can answer that. Cause I tell you right now, shoot, I would. I tell you right now, I would. And wouldn't think twice about it. Wouldn't even think twice about it. So the point is, all this happened, and you telling me, after his wife told him what she said Joseph did, that his wrath was kindled? That was it. Joseph wasn't nothing but a servant of the house. He could have easily done that. He could have easily just killed him and got rid of him. Because right here it said that his wrath was kindled. But it don't say who his wrath was actually kindled against. You see the point? Was it kindled against Joseph, or was it kindled against her? It don't say that. It don't say nothing, do it? See, people can sit there and say, oh, well, he cast him in prison, though. Did he cast him in prison for it? Okay. Yeah, he casted him in prison, but did he cast him in prison for punishment, or was he put there as protection? Which one was it? See, these are the questions that we need to be able to answer. Because I want to show us already from the jump, Potiphar even going to show you himself. Potiphar, he trusted this man. You can see this right over here in Genesis chapter 39, verse 3. You see it. And his master saw that the Lord was with him. So Potiphar saw that the Lord was with Joseph. And the Lord had made all that he did to prosper in his hand. So Potiphar already could see this. And Joseph found grace in his sight, and he served him. And he made him overseer of his house, and all that he had, he put into his hand. So you see, and it came to pass from the time that he had made him overseer of his house and over all that he had, that the Lord blessed. So the Lord blessed the Egyptian house for Joseph's sake. And the blessing of the Lord was upon all that he had in the house and in the field. So you see the same thing that he even told us from the beginning. Matter of fact, you see, he blessed that house because of Joseph. Same as you even see here in Genesis 12:3. And I will bless them that bless thee, and curse them that curseth thee. And in thee, all the families of the earth shall be blessed. So this house was blessed because of Joseph, because Joseph was there. So you see it happening right here. He blessed this house because of Joseph. But it's showing you that Potiphar put him in his position. That the fact he put him in his position is showing him that he clearly trusted this man. Because he put everything that he had in his hand and made him overseer of his own house. Joseph even told the dang wife himself in verse 9, there's none greater in this house than I. He told her himself. Shoot, my master ain't none greater in this house than I. Shoot, my master made me greater than you. The only thing that separates me and him is you. He told her this straight to her face. But you telling me down here that this woman said what she said and told her husband what Joseph did to her? That he came in and mocked me and do all this? And she lifted her voice up to cry and left his garment with me and fled out? When his master heard the words of his wife, when she spake unto him, saying, after this manner did thy servant with me, that his wrath was kindled? So you telling me for Joseph to do something like that in his master's house, if that's what she's saying was true, you telling me Potiphar didn't just kill this man? And he won't nothing just but a servant of his house? And he a Hebrew servant? And Potiphar's an Egyptian? And he didn't, and you telling me that he just sat there and you said, and his wrath just kindled? That's it. And all he did was just cast him into prison for something like that? And that's it? See, this is what we talking about. Because you get down here, it tell you. And Joseph's master took him and put him in prison, a place where the king's prisoners was bound. And he was there in prison. But the Lord was with Joseph and showed him mercy and gave him favor in the sight of the keeper of the prison. And the keeper of the prison committed to Joseph's hand all the prisoners that was in the prison, and whatsoever they did there, he was the doer of it. Now he down there running the prison. It don't matter where he go, he gonna run it. Why? Because the Lord was with him. That's the point. The keeper of the prison looked not to anything that was under his hand, because the Lord was with him. And that which he did, the Lord made to prosper. So it doesn't matter. It didn't change. It go back to the same thing. God is faithful. God was rolling around with Joseph, just as Joseph, he rolling around with God. So Joseph wasn't put in jail. He won't put in prison to be tormented and to suffer, but he was put there to be protected from this dang woman, from this same evil spirit, from what she was doing to him. That's the point. So again, God, he didn't put more on Joseph than that he could bear. But in that temptation, he made a way for him to escape so that he could bear it. See, this is how this works. That's how that works. See, a lot of us will see certain situations as bad, but we got to look at the purpose that goes on actually behind them. Joseph's casting into prison was not punishment nor torment, but served as his protection from wickedness that he could not actually bear. So he removed him from it. Same as a lot of us get removed from certain situations to keep us away from something that we actually didn't need to get caught up in. So these are the things that can happen. Because that's why he even tell us over here in Sirach or Ecclesiasticus chapter 33. And he tell us in Sirach chapter 33, you see what it said, there shall no evil happen unto him that feareth the Lord, that desireth the Lord. That's the whole point. But in temptation, even again, will he deliver him. That's the whole point. So this is how this works. Because the same thing, you go back over here. Same thing, you go back over here. Guess what? We ain't left. It's taking us right back to the same thing. What? No evil shall happen unto him that desireth the Lord. What does tell you? Seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness. That's how we do that. That's what he means. Not you sitting here halfway doing stuff and then you really know deep down in your heart that you're not going to do right. You just want something to change because that's what you want. You just in it for reward. It's not for that. What can God, I want us to really think about this. What can Jehovah grant you physically in this world that has anything to do with inheriting the kingdom of God? Flesh and blood can't inherit the kingdom. We already know this. He tell us over here in 1 Corinthians. He tell us over here in 1 Corinthians chapter 15. 1 Corinthians chapter 15 and verse 50. Now this I say, brethren, flesh and blood cannot inherit the kingdom of God. Neither doeth corruption inherit incorruption. Everything in this life is still corruption, regardless of how good it actually looks to us. So if we are only on this walk seeking Jehovah because we just merely want him to change something for us, simply because we desire maybe a more comfortable life in this present world that we want to live, then what is the purpose of actually seeking him out at all, if that's all you want? When you only living for this world anyways. Because then what profit is this heavenly knowledge that he given to us for us? What profit is that to you at that point? It ain't profiting you nothing because you still just looking at the live for the world. Because he tell you in Mark chapter 8 verse 35, he tell you, for what shall it profit a man if he should gain the whole world and lose his own soul? What profit is that? Verse 34, for whosoever will save his life shall lose it. But whosoever shall lose his life for my sake and the gospel, so the message, the same shall save it. So if we just in it just so we can profit something, then what point is that? What's the point of that? Why are we always doing things looking to try to save our own life? We supposed to seek Jehovah in the adversity, in the trials, the things that we go through when he proves us in that furnace of affliction. But if we trying to run from the battle to save our own life, we done already lost the war in the mind already. So we got to put this into perspective, because I really want us to think about this world. Remember, this whole entire world is a wilderness. That's why I brought that up earlier first in the teaching. Remember where we at. This wilderness is a desert, but it's a proving ground. So what are we going to find out here that's pertaining to this world? Think about a desert itself, a desert land itself. You sitting there, a man walking around in the desert, it ain't nothing out there for him but a whole bunch of sand. There's a whole bunch of nothing. And most people can see that. Most people can see that themselves, like that's worthless. You can ask anybody if they would find any value in that. And most of us would actually say no. So then what's the difference when we chase after the things in the world that we already know is vanity? People, we look to save our own life. This is why we can't wait upon God. Which that don't mean anything, because again, faith without works is dead. But if we don't trust in God, then we're not able to give up the things of this world. We're not trying to give up this life for the life to come. But like I said, if we just serving Jehovah for the hope of getting something in return, then what are you truly looking to gain? Because you're just trying to save your own life here. Because you're more concerned about what you can hold on to here when everything in this life is vain. Same as you see here. He telleth right here in 1 John chapter 2. 1 John chapter 2. Verse 16, for all that is in the world, the lust of the flesh, the lust of the eyes, and the pride of life is not of the Father, but is of the world. He tell you, and the world passeth away, and the lust thereof. But he that doeth the will of God abideth forever. But the world gonna pass away, and the lust thereof. Everything there is that's in it, because it's all vanity. He tells us this. He tells us that when we go over here to Ecclesiastes chapter 1 and verse 2. Vanity of vanities, saith the preacher. Vanity of vanities. All is vanity. So we see that. Everything in his life is going to pass away. Why? Because it's all vanity. It's all empty. It's all desolate. It's all worthless. Same. It's just as a desert. So when we look at it that way, it can bring it closer for us to understand. Even the things that our flesh lusts after, the things that we can see with our eyes, it don't matter what it is. Matter of fact, I want to show us, because I even put this together here, so I can show us both of these right here side by side, so you can even see it. So you can even see what I'm talking about. You got one man on one side, he's over here in the desert, this desert sand. But you got this other man on the other side, okay, he's living his life, living this lavish life to the fullest. But what is it? It's still vanity. It's no different from what you see on the man on the other side. Physically, he has nothing, even though he believes he has something. It's still nothing. So it don't matter. All the flashly stuff we can have, everything that looks good to us in this life, that can be people, that can be wealth, that can be houses, that can be cars, that can be fame, all these exotic places that we see. That's why you see he got that plane back there, because we want to go to all these places. Well, we want to go here, want to go there, want to go do this, want to go do that. And we say, well, I just want to live my life to the fullest and see everything that this world, that this life has to offer. These are the things that we say. But with these same temptations around us again, we have to truly remember where we at. We in a desert. We still in the wilderness. It's still a proving ground. So when you look at everything around you that this world has to offer you, and everything that's been built in this world to attract and draw in the lust of our flesh, when you look at that, it's there to prove us. And we sitting there chasing after it when it's nothing. It's vanity. It's worthless. Just as those same little dust particles of sand that you see. So whatever we see that we think we need to be chasing after, and we thinking that thing that we going after, whatever it is, that's it to us. I want you to remember what it is that we chasing after. You chasing vanity. you chasing vanity. It's nothing. It ain't no different from walking around in a desert full of sand, thinking you're gonna eventually get somewhere and there's nothing out there. It's just full of vanity. Everything you think you can attain is all insignificant. So when we try to carry stuff with us from the world, then we create our own burdens that we carrying with us that we shouldn't be carrying. This is why we even told all the time, it's nothing out here for us in this life. It ain't nothing out here for us in this world, because it's a desert land. But in that same place, Jehovah still uses that same place. He going to reveal to us his understanding on what we need to see. So we should understand that there's nothing in this world that we should be going after. So we shouldn't desire what we see here, but rather what Jehovah is offering us eternally. That's why he tell us. To not. You see this in Luke chapter 9. You see this in Luke chapter 9 and verse 3. He tell you, and he said unto them, take nothing for your journey, neither staves, nor scrip, neither bread, neither money, neither having 2 coats apiece. So you don't take it. That's the point. Again, temptation is going to be in the presence of us, but Jehovah is going to prove us on what we actually going to be faithful to. The same as you see he did our forefathers, the same he going to do us. So we don't need to take nothing with us on this journey, because we need to understand that Jehovah, he's the one who's going to sustain us and feed us with the knowledge that we need. And when we truly understand that, then we can understand that nothing will be put on us more than we can bear. Because if we rolling with God, he going to make us to prosper. But in spiritual things, that's what we want to spiritually prosper. That's the whole point. But you see this in Deuteronomy chapter 8, verse 2, and it said, and thou shalt remember all the way which the Spirit of God thy guide led thee these 40 years in the wilderness, so in this time of proving, to humble thee and to prove thee, to know what was in thine heart, whether thou wouldest keepeth his commandments or no. Verse 3, and he humbled thee and suffered thee to hunger and fed thee with manna, which thou knewest not, neither did our fathers know, that he might make thee know that man doeth not live by bread alone, but by every word that proceedeth out of the mouth of the Spirit of God, and doeth a man live. That's the point. So it's the same thing that we've seen over there in Exodus chapter 16 and verse 4, which I'll pull it back up there on the screen. He's telling us the same thing, because Deuteronomy just reiterating it. We see it right here. It said, he tell you, and he said unto Moses, remember, I will rain bread from heaven for you. The people shall go out and gather a certain rate, that I may prove them whether they're going to walk in my law or no. That's what he's going to do. So he's going to prove us on whether we're going to follow his laws or no. So we have to constantly resist our own fleshly desires. Same as he even did with Abraham. He did this with Abraham. So, but the first thing people going to sit there and say is, well, don't it say God tempt Abraham? Okay, you can say that all you want to, but hey, same thing. We'll go to it, because the point is, we going to prove the point on what we're saying. So you see, but you're going to see what he did. So we're going to go over here. We're going to go over here to Genesis chapter 22. Matter of fact, I'm going to do it right here, because it looked like I'm going to have to do it. Look like I'm going to have to do it right there. So that's what I'm going to do, actually. Actually, I'm gonna do it right there, because it's looking like what I'm going to have to do on this one. Because that's all good. That's all good. We still gonna pull it. That's all good, because we're gonna do this right here. So Genesis chapter 22. So, you see this. Genesis chapter 22, you see what it say. And it came to pass after these things that God did tempt Abraham and said unto him, Abraham. And he said, Behold, here am I. Okay, but I want to put this here just to prove the point on what we're doing. So you can see, we ain't going to run from nothing. We're going to put it right there. So I don't want us to see this so you can even see. In James chapter 1 and verse 13, you see what it say. It says, let no man say when he is tempted, I am tempted of God. For God cannot be tempted with evil, neither tempteth he any man. First thing people gonna say, oh, well, that looked like a contradiction. Yeah, okay. But the point is, what you see here in James chapter 1, verse 13, what he's saying, this here is talking about going after our own lust and getting enticed. That's why you see in verse 14, it tell you, but every man is tempted when he is drawn away of his own lust and enticed. So when we get tempted by something, that's because we going after something that's of our fleshly desire that's actually contrary to JEHOVAH. Those are enticements. Those are fleshly pleasures and these deceitful doctrines and things that we like to go after. Something that influences us and draws us away from JEHOVAH. But guess what? God didn't do that to Abraham. Why? God cannot be tempted with evil, neither tempted he any man. So when he said here that it came to pass after these things that God did tempt Abraham, all he's saying is that JEHOVAH was proving him. That's all he did. He proved him. Same as you see, because when you go over here and then you even look at tempt in the spiritual dictionary, you even going to see what it say. Prove. That's all he was doing. He was proving Abraham. That's all he was doing. He won't doing what you see like this, entice, which is to seduce, to tempt, to beguile, to allure, to deceive. He wasn't doing none of that. All he did, he gonna prove him. He's gonna prove him on something. So JEHOVAH is proving Abraham on his faithfulness and his obedience, but he's not tempting him as in trying to persuade him or to entice him to do evil, but he's proven his faithfulness and integrity with God. That's the whole point. Because now what you even see right here in verse 2, you see right here in verse 2, and it said, and he said, take now thy son, thy only son Isaac, whom thou lovest, and get thee into the land of Moriah, and offer him there for a burnt offering upon one of the mountains which I tell thee of. So, but this is the issue here, because this is what God actually told him to do. But Abraham, he didn't understand this. But this is why Abraham, when he offered Isaac up, he was actually going to slay him. He was actually going to kill Isaac. But the Spirit of God was just proving him. So he wasn't really telling him to literally offer up his son to kill him, but he was proving him to see if he was going to be completely faithful unto him in everything without any wavering. That's all he was doing. But this was still showing Abraham's obedience and faith towards God. Because you even see right here. Matter of fact, let me, I should be able to pull it back up over here. Yeah, because you see right here, he said, get thee in the land of Moriah. Because when you look at Moriah, you can even see right here, you look at Moriah, you're going to see Moriah is telling you visible of JEHOVAH. That's what you see. But also, you see Moriah right here in Beersheba. You see Moriah spiritually, obedience, and faith. See God's appearance. But you see Moriah is tying you to Mount Sinai and to Horeb. That's why I wanted to show us this. See, that's why it was in the land of Moriah. See, this is also in a desert. The same as Horeb. So that's the same thing when he went up to this mountain. See, just as when Moses, when he led Jethro's flock to the back of the desert, he left those people behind and came up to that mount. The same as what Abraham did. Because I want to show us over here in Exodus chapter 3. And starting at verse 1, you see it say, and now Moses kept the flock of Jethro, his father-in-law, the priest. But he led them to the backside of the desert. I don't know why I keep doing that. Let me do it over here. Because you see here, it said, now Moses kept the flock of Jethro, his father-in-law, the priest of Midian, and he led the flock to the backside of the desert and came to the mountain of God, even to Horeb. So that's what I'm talking about. And the angel, the messenger of the Spirit of God, appeared unto him in a flame of a fire out of the midst of a bush. And he looked, and behold, remember, the bush burned with fire, and the bush was not consumed. So you see this. When Moses came up to that mountain of God, the same as when Abraham and Isaac went up there. Abraham was doing the same thing when he left his servants down there at the bottom of the mountain. That's why you see right here, even with Abraham, you see right here in Genesis 22, verse 4 and 5. Then on the third day, Abraham lifted up his eyes and saw the place afar. And Abraham said unto his young men, abide ye here with the ass. I and the lad. So he talking about Isaac will go up yonder and worship and come again unto you. So he left them down there. Him and Isaac went up to the mountain to worship. The same as you see Moses, he left that flock, Jethro flock, on the backside of the desert, and he came to the mountain of God. So that's the whole point. So just as Moses left that flock and came to the mountain of God, and the Spirit of God appeared unto him in the midst of a burning bush. So you see him, he making this appearance before him. So when Abraham came up here, he was still showing Abraham something right here. He was still teaching him. So this is why he told him to do this, what he did. But you see, when you get over here to verse 10, you're going to see verse 10 down to verse 12, what happened. It said, and Abraham stretched forth his hand and took the knife to slay his son. And watch this. And the angel, the messenger of the Spirit of God, called unto him out of heaven and said, Abraham, Abraham. He said, here am I. He said, lay not thy hand upon the lad, neither do anything unto him. For now I know that thou fearest God, seeing that thou hast not withheld thy son, thy only son, from me. That was the whole point. So you see the point on this. He was proving him on this, because you got to think, God already done promised this man a son, whom he already told him that many nations and kings shall come out of thee, that his seed was going to inherit the land which he promised. He already done told him this. This same one, this same son, Isaac. But God told him to offer him up for a burnt offering, and he sat right there and he was about to kill him without any thought, without any doubt, without any hesitation. But that's showing you at this point, how much faith that this man actually had in God. This is showing you how much this man truly desired to follow after God. See, even if he didn't understand it at the time, he was still at the point where he was walking by this faith that he was proving on right here. So that's why he even tells us. That's why he even tells us right here. That's why you see all that here. Why he was called a friend of God. Because he tell you in Sirach 6 and 7. He said, if thou wouldest get a friend, prove him first, and be not hasty to credit him. So, what he was doing, it came to pass, God did tempt Abraham. This wasn't evil. He wasn't doing anything evil. He just proved Abraham on his faith and his obedience. That's all he was doing. So it wasn't nothing evil. I mean, it don't change. So this doesn't change over here. It don't change what was said in James 1 and 13. God not going to tempt you with evil, nor is he going to tempt any man. But he will try your spirit. He will prove you on whether you're going to follow him 100% or you're not. If you're going to follow his law or no. And if we walking with faith, or are we willing to do something contrary? That's what he was doing with Abraham. He just proving him. So the same thing, we go back over here to Deuteronomy chapter 8. Deuteronomy chapter 8 and verse 3. He tell you, same thing. It said, and he humbled thee and suffered thee to hunger and fed thee with manna, which thou knewest not, neither did thy fathers know, that he might make thee know that man doeth not live by bread only, but by every word that proceedeth out of the mouth of the Spirit of God do man live. So he humbles us and suffers us to hunger, because he's proven us in that. Not our flesh, but our spirit. Because we have to remember, God gonna look upon the heart. So he's gonna suffer us the hunger so we can starve our flesh. That's the point. To humble us to resist the fleshly nature and starve our own cravings and desires. We gotta starve the flesh of what it wants. But that's the issue on what we were seeing before. Because a lot of us, we don't want to starve those. Instead, we want to go back to them. But Jehovah, he's letting us know, he giving us a way out. Because we know that we don't live by bread only, but every word that proceedeth out of the mouth of the Spirit of God do we live. That's our way out. That is what we have to understand. Even like he tells us right here in James. James, let me go back over here. James 4:7. It says, submit yourself therefore to God. Resist the devil, and he will flee from you. So, providing we submit ourselves to God, then the devil has to flee. So, we have to resist these temptations that we're going to see. They're going to come from Satan. So, resisting is not fighting it, but it's by staying faithful to Jehovah. Because no matter what, you have to make sure that we refusing to actually give in to it. So we can't combat temptation with our own thoughts, but we got to make sure that we stay in the book. Because again, every word that proceedeth out of the mouth of God is what a man lives by. That's our way out. Because that's why we could see. Perfect example for us right here. You see right here in Matthew chapter 4 and verse 1. Then was Jesus led up of the Spirit into the wilderness to be tempted of the devil. And when he had fasted 40 days and 40 nights, he was afterward a-hungered. And watch this. And when the tempter came out to him, he said, if thou be the Son of God, command that these stones be made bread. But watch this. But he answered and said, it is written, man shall not live by bread only, alone, but by every word that proceedeth out of the mouth of God. So you see how he responded. It was written. It is written, because he went right back to the law. So our mind has to be stayed in the word. So when he's saying he's not going to suffer you to be tempted above that you able, because if you follow in the Spirit, then that's the Spirit that's going to lead you. So how can any evil happen unto you when Jehovah already gave us the knowledge on what we actually needed to do? So you see with Jesus, with Yahushua, he didn't do as Adam. Adam, they was over there following their flesh. Remember when we first looked at it. They seen that tree of knowledge of good and evil for food, and it was pleasant to their understanding. Even though they already had a knowledge on it on what they were supposed to do, Jehovah had already made a way to escape by his word, by what we're supposed to live by, which he was proving them on that. But they didn't hold to it. The same you see here with Yahushua. He was being proved on that. That's why I said everybody got to go through it. He was led up of the Spirit into the wilderness to be tempted of the devil, but he was led of the Spirit. He won't follow in flesh. That's the difference. So this is what we have to do. So we have to be willing to flee from sin ourselves. We can't just say, well, God ain't going to give me more than I can handle, but then we still choose to stay in sin, and we still choose to stay in disobedience. Because if we do that, now that's our own fault. So providing he gives us a way out from that point, if we still choose to go back and do otherwise, we can't sit there and put it back on God and say, well, he ain't going to give me more than I can bear. Because at that point, that's our own choice and that's our own doing. So hopefully we got some understanding on this, on what we need to understand. But shoot, I'm going to have to end the teaching right here. I'm going to have to end it right there. But hopefully we did get some understanding on this teaching. But we got to make sure that we're not carrying with us things that we shouldn't have. We have to make sure that we understand this, because you can't walk around and then we carrying dead weight, trying to hold on to stuff that shouldn't be there. Jehovah already let us know he ain't gonna put more on us than that what we can bear. He already let us know that. But that's based on if we follow in him. Not us doing things how we want to do it, and then we end up in a bad situation, and now we carrying all these burdens that we don't put on ourselves that we should have left behind. So hopefully with that, we understand that. But if we need to go deeper on it, then that's what we'll do as well. But hopefully we got some understanding. So with that, I'd like to appreciate everyone for coming out and tuning in to this lesson. This was Elder James with the King James Bible University, and I would like to say, Shalom.